What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and we just finished watching Live Letter 56, and this is the summary for you guys. I encourage you to go out there to Reddit and read the full live translation. If there's anything more you want to know, just know there will be a part 2 for anybody new to the community. Basically, part 1 is a big overview of what a patch will have and any long-term direction they're ready to share with us. And part 2 is where they can individually pull out some sections that they want to show in greater detail. A lot of times at that point, we get to see various gameplay and things like that. Huge thanks to Reddit for the live translation. Since Brian and I do not speak Japanese, Aluna Minori and Shini Tan handled it this time, and we really appreciate it. They did open by saying the game had 18 million adventurers. I don't really know what that number means, but it's exciting to see it growing. Only because, like, I don't know how you track... I don't know how that compares to other games, because they all, of course, reveal a metric that makes them look flattering. Is that just people who have ever subscribed for 1 month ever? How many of those are remaining active? What is the status of a healthy game in 2019? We don't know, but it's exciting to see the number go up as opposed to laying stagnant. So congratulations to Square Enix and the team. It's good news. So patch 5.18 will come out before the year ends. Looks like December 24th. There will be some adjustments. They're going to, of course, at that point, there's a pattern to this. So we will be removing weekly restrictions for Eden, Normal, and even Savage. That means if you want to go in and start rolling on everything, you should be able to gear up any number of classes at that point. Deep Shadow Solvent will then be purchasable with manufactured coins. Season 14 for Feast will begin. That'll have achievements, other rewards, and things like that the moment it's implemented. Some of that stuff we might find out part 2, some of it we might find out patch notes. Just depends on kind of how they want to play that, how close to the vest, and if it's even done. The weapon exchange could not be made at this time, so it won't be implemented right at the start. They do want to say there will be some job adjustments. Ninja will be adjusted, Grand Company related adjustments too, and then they wanted to talk briefly about the 2B equipment, because apparently that's been a whole thing on Reddit that I just wasn't aware of, and they weren't intending to nerf it, but basically there's some stuff going on with 2B and apparently butt slider related type things, and they're saying that due to polygon technicalities it lacked the proper consideration, and certain body types, for example, if a player were to wear category A type leggings and the body shape would be adjusted based on that, they wanted to kind of make sure that was all working correctly and that the error was causing some things to display incorrectly. So they've rebuilt that and they plan to re-implement it, but for now it's been reverted and it will be restored in the future. So for those of you that liked the way that the butt was, I guess, enhanced is what I'm gathering. I really wasn't aware of all this. With 2B, that will be re-implemented the way they intended it to be. PvP actions will also be adjusted, fairly typical at the beginning of a season like this. If they want to make changes, it's a good time to do it. So with 5.18 done, let's finally talk about patch 5.2, the reason you're here. We did get a patch name, Echoes of a Fallen Star. We didn't get a patch art, or I would show it right here where my face is. And it's set for mid-February. So you've got plenty of time to finish up anything you want with patch 5.1 before we go into 5.2. There are a lot of things planned for 5.2, so it would be good to kind of get that stuff out of the way. Of course, like anything, any patch, 5.2 will have MSQ. This will head us to... It'll start to head towards the conclusion of the Shadowbringers saga, and we will get a new instanced dungeon. They've recently seemed to have landed on the name Anamnesis Niter. That is hard to say. The dungeon is trust system compatible, which so far has meant that it will be locked behind MSQ. It will be an MSQ based dungeon and enhance that story so far. And then moving forward, we will only get one dungeon with every patch. Because of the enormous number of dungeons implemented, they want to focus on investing the cost in other areas of the game rather than just giving us more numbers of dungeons. One of the things Brian and I have always called for around that is don't just let a dungeon die at the end of an expansion and become part of this roulette where like we never really see it. Give us a reason to go interact with that whole backlog, so that if you have to do something like this where you pull back and give us less new dungeons, that it feels like it's this whole catalog of active dungeons. We specifically asked the media tour about M+. If you go back and watch our media tour interviews, and they talked about why they can't do that, but not to get too far off topic here. So the dev code for this dungeon, it's called Asian Judgment Legal Advice. They did show a rough art, and then they talked about the new beast tribe, the Qatari. This tribe will be gathering centric. So I don't know if that translates to gathering only, or if that's Namatsu style, where there'd be like a crafting component and it's just meant to be more out in the world, feeling like gathering. It's exciting to think of a gathering only beast tribe. We will also have new Chronicles of a New Era, the Sorrow of Werlit. I think that's Relic. I don't really know. This series is going to take off from the segment where Istinian destroyed the facility scene in patch 5.1. There will be new trials, the Ruby weapon and the extreme version of it, and then there's one more, but it's secret. They will not even be revealing it in part 2. That'll be a patch notes day 1. Brian and I'll do our best to go by whatever the name is. Usually the name is sufficiently vague for who the boss is, so that guide will be put out under the dungeon name, and the art from it will be based on any patch art that we get from maybe part 2. So just hopefully that's really exciting story-wise. Usually they build up to something. It's always fun to build up to a big baddie and then get to kill them. New raid, Eden's Verse and Eden's Verse Savage. They showed some art, nice electricity, and they said what comes to mind if Ramu were to be involved. Maybe there would be orbs. And they said whether or not Ramu will actually appear is unknown, but please look forward to it. The story will also move forward drastically. Next, the new quest series for upgrading equipment. This is, in my mind, the word relic comes to mind here, and it is most likely going to be more independent and individual instead of requiring the big kind of group. The name is still up in the air, so it doesn't seem like they're keeping it secret. It seems like they haven't finished landing on it, and the story will be focused on the Bozja Citadel, which is the home of the Hrothgar, and I really wonder if we would have a chance to see some female Hrothgar. I understand that it can be very expensive to add a new race to the game where it can fit to every piece of gear in the game and every, shape that we can drag it into and all the different faces, but to just make 5 or 6 that are very static and all maybe wear the same armor type, that they just build one armor set uniquely for them, would be really cool to see their take on female Hrothgar in this game. Just a personal thing, but they definitely didn't say that. Patch 5.2 will also have job adjustments that they'll go over more in part 2, but they did want to mention that Red Mage will most likely be buffed based on feedback. There will be PvP updates then, and PvP actions will be adjusted, and now it's time to talk about Ishgard Restoration. First, they took a break to say, let's talk back about the initial concept, so they're reiterating. Basically, it's going to be over the course of several patches, so just know that we're still not done, and that it's designed to be played by both veteran and novice crafters. That the introduction in patch 5.11 was designed to introduce players to crafters and give them an incentive to participate. They made it super easy, easy enough that I felt that it kind of made the system for people who are already engaged in it feel kind of lackluster, and the high-end content was planned to be introduced. They said later at the time, and then they started to hint that it was 5.2, and now it says 5.2 and subsequent updates. So we will be getting diadem changes. The diadem, for those of you that weren't before Eureka, if you were around for Eureka, it was basically a combination of diadem, which was this instant zone where you could go out and fight bosses and everything like that. But then there was a relic grind that was separate from that, and they kind of combined that to become Eureka. And there was, there was an exploration part of that never really worked quite perfectly. So this time it's going to be designed as gather exclusive content, which makes sense. You will enter directly as a Disciple of Land from level 10 and onwards, which means that it's even earlier access than Ishgard Restoration, which is crafting at level 20, and that the ceruleum tanks will no longer be required. So you will gather items, and those will be usable in the Restoration of Ishgard, and then you will earn Skybuilder scripts for completing this. There won't be enemies to worry about, so you won't have to stealth, even though the new stealth is it's full mount speed, but it of course, if the mobs were more than 4 levels above you, you'd be at risk there. And then there will be a cycle that you'll jump from island to island kind of clockwise, is how they show it, and you won't have to worry about being feared or attacked, like when that fate pops up in an area where you're doing, a gathering leave or something like that. That can be very frustrating. And in addition to gathering non-collectible items for reconstruction, the area is also useful for gaining experience at it says nearly any level. So basically 10 and above, you'll be able to level there. So if you do not have your Disciples of Land capped, and you are worried about what all to focus on between now and 5.2, you could save that for then and focus on other things until then, and really plan on engaging with this content to cap those classes. Leaves are incredibly efficient if you want to be at cap going in. There's also going to be a new gauge, which is called the Aetheromatic Auger. So I wonder if that'll kind of look more like Eureka, or if that'll look more like a limit break, or what that'll look like. When you continue to gather in the diadem, the gauge will charge. You use the auger on creatures in the wild to obtain additional items. So I don't know if you're killing them or if you're just sapping out their energy. I don't know exactly how that works. I look forward to seeing that. I'm really excited about that content. Now it's for expert recipes. My one complaint with 5.1 was centered on how it really just simplified the crafting system down, and removing button bloat is okay, but they even stripped out the current content from things, and this is going to have new collectible items that will have even greater rewards. Expert recipes will have statuses beyond poor, good, and excellent, which means they could have recipes that are only completable if you're actually crafting. So now that it's simple enough that a person can wrap their head around it, the next step is now to say, okay, now that they've wrapped their head around it, can we make it super challenging in a way that cannot be macroed? That's the other half. That's the thing that would justify putting all the issues to rest for anybody that feels like I do, that it was a little bit frustrated. For those of you that like it, this is something that's purely aimed at the hardcore players. And they said this is specifically for the hardcore players, along with some of the things they just said that we're about to get to. They are also going to be Coupe of Fortune, which is a scratch-off ticket. So every time you contribute a certain number of items, you'll get this and you'll be able to claim rewards. But here comes the other half of that hardcore group, a ranking system. This is for people that want to contribute a lot to restoration efforts. So for those of you that want to go contribute 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 items, these crazy amounts, there will be rankings, and there will be separate ones for crafters and for gatherers. They're going to be basically 10-day lockouts. They don't want to make it too long. I don't know why they didn't go as short as a week, but I guess 10 days is where they felt was right. And this is meant to be for hardcores. So for those of you that feel frustrated by this, that you can't get onto the ranking board, it's not for just easy access. It's meant for those top people. Everything for all of the easy, more casual players was added in patch. I mean, we got a bunch of that in patch 5.11. We're not done getting that, but let's let the people who play 19 bajillion hours a day and want to drive hardcore into this, that's what this is for. The ranking announcements will be posted to the lodestone, kind of like the deep dungeon system. I would love to see that stuff make a move to the launcher or even in game for this. It'd be neat if it was somewhere in the firmament and kind of paying homage to that. Rewards will be special titles for top rankers, among with rewards for people who just simply contributed. We're getting some crafting system updates. There will be some actions that get adjusted. There will be a new feature that allows you to take a guess at how much your next action is going to give. And then there was a bit of a translation hiccup here. It didn't quite, the words didn't make sense, so I kind of pieced it together, and it sounded like they would be making it easier to descent stacked items. So I specifically think about fish. When you have those fish that just aren't worth anything and you'd love to descent them down to get a few crystals and a whole bunch of sand, you don't want to have to click that just one at a time. Even in the menu, it's just, I'd rather just grab the whole stack at once. I think it would add a lot of value to the market if all the extra fish out there, if we could go just, if they drop too low in value, we could just go pull out whole stacks and descent that. If we're going to make descent that easy, then we might as well have the side benefit of doing that. Company crafts will no longer have a party requirement for anybody that was worried about that. They also are working on a skill simulator, so it kind of sounded like a target dummy, but for crafters. So it would help kind of take the RNG out of things and allow you to like better plan what's next and have a feel for kind of what your crafts are doing without having to risk materials, hopefully. So it'd be neat to kind of see if we're going to make the crafting really hard for these top end recipes, give people that ability to kind of practice them before they go put these really expensive materials at risk. Fishing updates. Very excited about this. I know Brian was frustrated already at the one dungeon thing because they were kind of vague about where that extra effort would go. But this part was exciting. So we are going to be adding a lot to fishing in 5.2. Patience, precision, powerful hook set, required level, those have all been lowered in their actions required. And fish tugging animations have been easier to distinguish, so they're just making it a little bit easier to get into fishing. And they're talking about adding an all-purpose lure. I don't know if that's going to be bound to just low-level fish, or if that's going to be something you have to unlock through something, or if that's going to be something that maybe it breaks or something fairly often. I would love to see kind of the baits and lures that are left in game still have value of some kind instead of just all those basically being now delete items, but we'll just have to see. And we are getting Sky Steel tools. So for those of you that remember when I first joked, but then kind of started to reason through what a crafter relic would look like, pulling from a little bit of the relic system, a little bit of the crafting system, a little bit of World of Warcraft's tools of the trade system, that's kind of what we're getting. So you're going to get primary tools that are getting upgraded over the course of multiple patches. It's going to begin with a quest in the firmament and craft or gather specified items to enhance these tools. So you're going to do crafting and gathering to enhance the tool, to enhance your crafting and gathering for this quest type thing. Sounds like it could be kind of grindy. Sounds like a relic. They're also making drastic materia system changes. Equipment will no longer be lost when creating materia. So basically you're going to fill that kind of spirit bond bar. And then when your equipment rating is 100%, you can get the materia. You don't lose the equipment itself, you just drop the rate back to 0. So that should bring a lot more materia, especially that high level materia from like raid gear and type stuff, into the system. The question in my mind then is, what do we do with all that extra materia? Are they going to add a rank 9, rank 10 that we can only get from mutamixing the top level when that price then plummets because there's more of it? What do we do with it? We can't just let it pile up. The crafting class requirement for affixing it will be removed, so you should be able to just affix it yourself. And then I don't know. I have a lot of questions about what that means for the materia market, and what it means for the usefulness of materia. What's the purpose? Can we then use it to enhance something else? It would be neat to see that used. If you're going to bring a lot more materia in, it'd be neat to see a use for pulling that materia back out of the game, so that people still feel excited when they get materia and they're like, trash. Ocean fishing. So this is Fisher exclusive. You're going to board a ship at a specified time, and you're going to go fishing. This is going to be something that they've been working on a lot, and so expect this to be a relatively in-depth system out of the gate would be my guess, but who knows? It could just be like airships. Hopefully it's more than that. and you're going to be able to receive experience and scripts based on the fish that are caught. There's also a chance of getting a big haul if certain conditions are met, and that would affect, it seems like, everybody on the ship. So I picture fishing raids, which sounds like a laughable term, but it was a laughable term in WoW until people actually found a way to benefit from doing it, and then the devs went off in the next expansion and actually created content with that social dynamic in mind. And if you guys didn't see any of my fishing raid streams when I was going off to try doing all the fish raids back-to-back days, it's a ton of fun. So I really hope, I like the fishing system and the way it works. The idea of doing group fates as gigging and things like that, that's all really exciting. This content will be improved over time as well. I will say that phrases like that pop up a lot. We got that with the duty recorder, we got that with, so sometimes things are improved drastically. That's how we get a Baldesian arsenal at the end of a long stretch. Sometimes things are made incredible over time. Deep dungeoning is an ongoing thing, but sometimes things either never get updated or they get updated really slowly. Think Blue Mage, where there's this whole, like, it's like a year between part 1 and part 2, even though they said at the beginning that they had part 1, 2, and 3 already written. So just be aware, as it says it's improved, try to enjoy it for what it is, and then if it gets better, great. If not, that's okay. We'll of course get a new tombstone. There's going to be some New Game Plus chapters. They talked about New Game Plus absorbing role quests, absorbing class quests, absorbing, seems like anything in the game that was really instrumental and helped set the story that you may have just blown through the first time or not had the context of that you have now. It seems like they are talking about going back and making that something that you can re-experience, especially as a game lasts a very long time. When you have quests, it's like, well, I did that 5 years ago. It's nice to have that ability to go back and relive that. There's going to be a rank increase for Free Company. I'd love to see them just release that and just uncap it and just make it get longer and longer and longer and longer and have small perks to moving forward and make it something that older. But I understand wanting to cap it a little bit so that newer FCs aren't just way behind, but it's a long time between rank increases going up. There'll be new courses in Leap of Faith. Fellowships will now be available on the companion app. Umbrellas will be added. They're having a tough time implementing it, but they do plan on adding umbrellas to the game. I don't know where that came from. And then they went into a big Q&A with Soken. So all about music and the sound and everything that led to the Shadowbringers music. It was a bummer to not see them win Best Music, not even be, I mean, there were categories that, like, they weren't even nominated for, and I think they should have won. But the Game of the Year, that is not what we're here to talk about. Some of the awards I can at least justify, and others it can be a little more frustrating, especially when you're just looking at the games that meant a lot to you and not able to see the whole scene and know that there are probably millions of people that do agree with whatever award I'm disagreeing with. So on that note, guys, that is everything we know about patch 5.2. That'll be, to loop back around, that's going to be in early February. We're going to be getting a small chunk of content at the end of December, and that will hold us over until then. It's basically sounds like it's going to be centered a lot on bringing gatherers into the fray, and then the standard patch content on top, which is your MSQ and some instant stuff to do. It sounds like we're going to be starting getting into the concept of relics and all the standard 5.2 stuff we normally do. What's new and different here is that we're getting a gathering beast tribe and gathering diadem and gathering fishing expeditions, and that it's a lot of gathering. That's what's unique about this 0.2 versus previous 0.2s. Other than that, 5.2 sounds like a reiteration of 4.2 and 3.2 and 2.2. We follow a bit of a pattern here. That's not a bad thing. I think Brian's going to have some serious frustration about the one dungeon thing. I do wonder where that, it'd be nice to see them disclose a little bit where that additional energy is going to go. Instead of just kind of saying, like, hey, I know I was paying you $10 every other week to mow my yard, but I'm going to start paying you less because I'm going to make some things better for you. But then not telling you, like, what? Like, it'd be nice to, like, talk about where your money's going. because it does feel like we're getting less effort put into dungeons, but for what? So I can see that. But other than that, I'm really happy with the state of 14. I'm really happy about what this means going into the end of the year and starting out 2020. I only have, for me personally, I only have, like, I think 4 more videos I'm going to have scheduled for this year. Brian has a few more, and then I'm going to start preloading some that I have planned for the beginning of the year, and or at least pre-scripting and working on those. And I'll be kind of announcing, we'll be kind of moving into our 2020 changes and what our goals are and everything we want to achieve with Work to Game and N14, and I have some goals in WoW and things like that, and I look forward to sharing all of those with you. So thanks again to Xandri joining us for the stream of the patch notes. That was awesome. Thanks again. Huge thanks to the, I think it was 10 new members was the exact count. Maybe it was 11, 10. That came in, and then we also had at least one upgrade their members, so we really appreciate that support. It goes a long way. It was hard to keep track of because they were coming in really fast, and we have a lot of things planned to kind of help thank you guys and give you guys, you know, more flex in whether or not you want to support the channel and what we can offer you in the weeks and months to come. My name is Chris with Work to Game. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I hope you are looking forward to patch 5.2 and that you have plenty to do until February. If you are running out of things to do, let us know and we'll try to point you in a direction of something maybe you haven't completed yet. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click here to subscribe and here to maybe check out some more of our videos. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you like this video. We hope you subscribe and join our community. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you next time.